This is John Drew and Jolé Gabrielle this Sunday at Elevated Planet, bringing to you a YouTube Live. And we're going to turn it over to John and for him to tell us more about it.
Thank you very much, Jolé, and hello, everybody. Glad you could join us today. And yeah, we've got an interesting show for you tonight. I think we're getting closer and closer to interesting times as well, but in the best possible way. So today we are going to focus on Gregg Braden, who some of you may be familiar with his work, but I mean, I know, Jolé, you're very familiar with his work as well, but you know, the man is really is an incredible man. I know he has part of his family history comes from the Native American side of things, and you can tell within his spirituality and the depth in which he goes into these things. He's quite, you know, he is quite an amazing messenger, if you like, for the messages that need to be heard out there right now. So when Jolé and I were chatting in the middle of the week, and we took a look at a video that really, I think, is an important one to see right now. I think the message is really quite deep and quite profound and important, and it is consistent with what we have talked about before. So we will get into that in a minute. One thing that I wanted to raise, and certainly Jolé and I, we discussed this, haven't we, which is about this stuff
Yes.
about QAnon voice and stuff like that, because we've been putting videos out there, and I know the Dolores Cannon related ones have a certain computerized voice, which I understand is being picked up elsewhere. That's right, isn't it, Jolé?
Yes, apparently it's being picked up in a way that is sort of negative and can be leaning towards a political sort of viewpoint, which we absolutely are not in that zone. We're over here in spirituality, and what we're trying to do, as John puts so beautifully, is to let you know that you are magnificent so that you can really enjoy the journey of this lifetime. And that's why we're here, is just to empower you. So when we're using terms like Great Awakening, we have nothing political to do with, we're just saying, hey, remember who you are, wake up the giant within and empower yourself. So we are absolutely in line with quantum mechanics. We like the fringe sciences, you know, making the intangible tangible. But when it comes to these isms and to politics and to judgment and criticizing and really low vibrational energy, we are what we consider that. We are not there. So going forward, we're definitely going to watch language, but we have this sense of humor, because anything that we do that's in joy has a sense of humor about it. So when we say things like pandemic, or you see that, that is just to sort of wake you up and to make you laugh, to not take it so seriously, so that your body can be optimally healthy and you can heal. So this is not about any fear. Okay.
No, absolutely. And you're right. I mean, I've been, for myself, I've been writing stuff now for, wow, 40 odd years. And one of the things I've always tried to do is really just focus on, you know, like put a message across and try to use humor along the way, because I think it's easier to engage people. And when you don't take yourself and life too seriously, but at the end of the day, it's all about feelings, right? You know, feelings are more important than words. You know, you can say that I feel great, but if inside you feel rubbish, that's kind of like, that's not working, right? It's about your feelings, and the way we communicate is going to be about joy. It's about encouraging joy. It's about encouraging all those high frequency emotions, because, you know, we're approaching a time now, which is on the very near horizon, where things will start to change. But you always have a way of looking at this, because you can look at it through the lens of neutrality, as we've said before, where you kind of look and say, okay, right, we may go through some changing times to get where we need to go. And it's fantastic, because at the end of it, there is this amazing life ahead of us, but we know that things may get a bit chaotic in the near term. So this is not to frighten people, far from it. In fact, really, when you view it in the right way, it's something to get excited about. It's time to transcend to a higher level for humanity. And I believe that is really what's happening. So what's not to get excited about there? Now, you may see headlines that kind of like are designed to promote fear. And I would say that, you know, if you are following something which is taking you to a place of fear, whether it's through the media or whatever, that is not serving your interests, okay? Or if you find that Elevated Planet is taking you to a place of fear, then you need to reach for the unsubscribe button, because that's not
Correct.
what we're about. And if we're being misinterpreted in that way, then clearly we're not communicating it in the right way that works for you, because we all are all different. And I know that you can't please all the people all the time, and you shouldn't even try. What you have to do is to be truthful to yourself, right? And that's where we are. That's what we're doing. We're speaking our truth fearlessly. You know, you can't please 100% of the people, and you know some people will look at life differently, and that's fine. That's as it should be. That's our diversity exists for the strength that it brings for the planet, right? So we don't argue with the fact that people will look at life differently, but neither should you try to sort of like accommodate all views, because it's just impossible. So anyway. Thank you. And at the end of the day, you know, the way I look at it is we're not here to fight the old, right? That's something that we've stated right throughout the existence of Elevated Planet. You know, we're not here to fight the old. We're putting our energies into building the new. So
Mhm.
it's not about kind of raising
Yeah.
the spectrum of negativity. It's actually about saying, look, as Jolé said, you know, we are so much bigger and better individually than we've been encouraged to believe. So
Mhm.
now it's opening that up, you know, like when Jolé, when you're doing your guided meditations and you're helping to remove that fear and bring in all those positive kind of emotions that feed us in the most positive way. It's a beautiful thing. So that balance, I love the balance we have. I love the fact that we have these discussion points, and I love that. And I would still always encourage people, whether you like it or whether you don't like it, tell us about it, because
Mhm.
you know that's kind of what a community is about. It's about sharing. And if we, you know, misinform people, we would need to know, right? So please don't hesitate to step forward. And you know, whether it's like titles like the Great Awakening suddenly having been hijacked for political purposes,
Yeah.
or
But
computerized voice used on something. But again, it's all about the underlying message, because those videos that we put which had that, and I do like it. And you know, one of the things that really amazes me, or really interests me, you can tell it's computerized when you got a word like caterpillar, which becomes a caterpillar. You know, I mean, okay, right? We know it's an AI voice or whatever, but the meaning is in the words and the message, and the meaning of the message of those videos that we've leaned on have been very about the things you need to know now, right? It's not about fear. It's about telling you how to transcend any negativity that may come your way. What do you
yes,
think, Jolé?
I think that's absolutely right. And we also want to let all of you know, no matter what you subscribe to in a religious sort of um, area of your life, Catholic, Christian, whatever you are, this here at Elevated Planet is here to just provide you with the lubrication or more of a connection, you know, to that divine, you know, or more of something to where you can really take on the premise and the edicts of your religion or whatever it is you believe in, and really have it empower you. Because oftentimes some of these spiritual principles take a skill set, right? To move from where you are in a place of depression and anxiety and fear to a place of freedom or divinity or spiritual enlightenment. There's a skill set that takes. And oftentimes when we sit in these places, we're not really taught exactly how to apply these principles. So hopefully, John and I can help you do that on your journey and show you a way to utilize your own energy as you grow and as you learn in order to begin to influence your environment positively.
100%. 100% well said, Jolie. Right, we're going to leap over to Gregg now, and let's spread a little bit of Gregg wisdom around, because he is a very, very special man.
We live our lives. We build our relationships. We choose our partners. We solve our problems. We heal our bodies based upon the way that we have been taught to think about ourselves, our relationship to our own bodies, our relationship to the world, our potential, and our limits. And for 150 years, a little over 150 years, since the time of Charles Darwin, you and I have been steeped in a story. And it is a story of separation, of powerlessness, of competition, of conflict, of struggle. And although we may not think about it consciously day in and day out, those ideas are hidden and they underlie, they're hidden in our thoughts and our beliefs. They underlie the very foundation of our society and the way we've been taught to think and live our lives. We have been conditioned to accept a theory of evolution when it comes to us and our origin, the story of our origin. And the story of evolution, it's actually a very sterile sounding story. It is a story we're asked to accept based upon chance. Just the right conditions appeared at just the right time for just the right atoms to combine into just the right molecules and create just the right patterns of amino acids with just the right conditions on the earth for life to emerge. And it has become more and more complex over time until we have humans and whatever comes after us, whatever we call post-human. That story, it is a very sterile sounding story because it makes us feel insignificant in the universe. And the scientists actually say this, that we are a very insignificant speck in the overall universe. And you might ask yourself, well, what's the big deal about that? So what if we feel insignificant? In our insignificance, we place a different value on life itself. If you're watching this right now, I know that you know that human life is being destroyed in an unprecedented level and unprecedented ways, and it's happening right in front of our faces, right before our eyes in the world today. And it's all based upon hate. Hate based upon the color of our skin, hate based upon our sexual orientation, upon our religion, upon our belief systems. And as different as each of those may sound from one another, the common theme through all of them is that those atrocities that are occurring in our own schools, our homes, our communities, or between nations, they're only possible because of the way that we have been conditioned to think of ourselves, the way that people think of themselves. And when we are steeped in the false scientific story of separation, competition, conflict, insignificance, powerlessness, and helplessness, the result of that kind of thinking is the world that we see right now. But it doesn't have to be this way. The new discoveries, specifically, I want to talk to you about the DNA discoveries. You know, it wasn't that long ago, the movie Jurassic Park was released, a science fiction movie. And in Jurassic Park, what was happening was DNA was being extracted from the fossilized remains of dinosaurs. They were rebuilding the genome, and in the movie, they actually reconstituted the life forms. They brought the dinosaurs back to life. Well, we haven't gone quite that far yet. What we have done is this. Science fiction has become science facts. We are now able to extract the DNA from the fossilized remains of the beings that we were led to believe are our ancestors. This is where it gets really interesting, because the DNA that led to the emergence of our ancestors that are called anatomically modern humans 200,000 years ago, that DNA did not occur through random evolutionary processes. That DNA did not occur as an accident of biology or nature. And scientists say that we cannot attribute the formation of that DNA to evolution alone. Something else had to happen. And here's the reason they say, I'm just going to be very brief. The reason they say that is because the mutations, the precision of the mutations, the number of mutations, the qualities that those mutations give us in our lives, and the timing, the fact that they happened all at once rather than slowly, gradually over long periods of time, strongly suggests that the story of evolution that we're being taught today is not our story, that we are more than we've been led to believe in the past. And that's why I'm sharing this with you today, because if there is even an inkling of an intentionality underlying our existence, as the DNA fusion suggests, it leads us to what is called the forbidden territory or uncharted territory in science. It leads us to the place where we may assume that it is intended for us to develop the awesome capacity, the immense human potential that these shifts in our DNA so long ago have allowed for. So this is where the science, although it's interesting, now becomes very relevant in our everyday lives, because what gives us our uniqueness as humans, that gives us the ability for empathy, sympathy, compassion, self-healing, and self-regulation on demand, what gives us those abilities has been relegated to the studies of mystics, monks, nuns, yogis living in isolation in monasteries and mountaintops halfway around the world for a very long period of time. And you can certainly go those places and explore those things. It's a cool thing to do. But the beauty of what the new science is showing us is we can now develop this immense human potential in our living rooms. We can do it in our everyday lives. I'm talking about deep intuition on demand, the ability to regulate a powerful immune response when we choose on demand, the ability to regulate our anti-aging or longevity enzymes that we all have in our bodies, to do it on demand, super learning, super perception, to create resilience to the changes that we're seeing in our world. All these things, as different as they are from one another, the common theme through each of them is that through techniques that are simple and easy to use, we have the ability to develop these extraordinary potentials that we have believed were left for mystics in the past, and to apply them in our everyday lives so that we can live healthy lives and thrive, not just survive. I'm talking about thriving in the new world that is emerging. And there is a new world emerging. The world of the past no longer exists. And although mainstream media is reluctant to share that fact, and mainstream media is reluctant to share the studies that I am sharing with you right now about the human DNA, about what we now know of our ancestors and how we relate to them, I want to tell you this is based in peer-reviewed science. So it's not a Gregg Braden theory, it's not my hypothesis, it's not my speculation, it's not New Age thinking, although it can be tied into all of those things. I'm talking to you about scientific facts that are simply relegated to obscure scientific journals. They're not being shared in the mainstream. We bring them all together. They tell a new human story, and it is a beautiful story. It is a story of hope and possibility. It is a story that empowers us to move forward in a healthy way in this new world, to build healthy families, healthy communities, and perhaps the most important thing of all, to achieve our greatest potential in life. Here's the reason this is important, because the better you and I know ourselves, the less we fear change. The less we fear change in the world, the less we fear one another, the less we fear the unknown. And as we globalize our world and we push together societies and cultures and religions in a way that has never happened in recorded human history, a lot of unknown things are happening. The better we know ourselves, the less we fear.
I love that. I think that the message that Gregg is coming through with there, again, it's the less we fear change, right? The easier it's going to be and the better it's going to be for us. And the fact is that he talks about there are simple techniques out there which bring us extraordinary outcomes. And I think that it's understanding that we all have that gift, that, you know, that intuition on demand that he talks about. And really, I think this is an era, and this is what makes it so special. You know, one of the human things that happens with the human condition is that upon birth, the veil of forgetfulness descends, and we forget. And again, I understand that people, so there will be certain people out there who don't get this, but you know, we are immortal spirits having a human experience. You know, we've probably been here a lot of times before. We've been elsewhere doing other things, but this is what makes this experience unique is the veil of forgetfulness descends upon birth, which means you don't realize that you're an immortal spirit having a human experience. But I believe that the time that is coming up now, that veil is thinning. We are starting to see through to the other side and understand, actually, we are far more magnificent than we've been told that we are, right? And it's all there in the ancient texts. And this is what Gregg digs under the surface of, whether it's the Dead Sea Scrolls. I mean, Jolé, you're familiar with the Dead Sea Scrolls going back a while in your studies, aren't you?
Yes, as a child, my father introduced me to those, and he was reading those as well. And he was really into the Egyptian mystery systems and all that kind of stuff. And so these were unearthing, I think, what people call, you know, I guess myths and theories of creation, right? So
Right.
interesting. It was very interesting as a kid learning these things.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, I mean, it's all over the world, right? There's these different stories that are patterns, I guess you could say, everywhere, you know, and the Dead Sea Scrolls are one of those that I guess underscores that creation theory.
Yeah, totally. And I know the first one and the most complete one amongst that collection for the Dead Sea Scrolls was, I think, the book of Isaiah. And that was that was interesting because within that, he spoke about, what could be described as an apocalypse as we think about it, right? The earth kind of starting to break apart, and then, but on the other hand, he was talking about this fantastic earth where the springs would rise in the desert would bloom, and this and that, a real perfection. And this is
Mhm,
that time. And one of the curious things about these, and as you say, Jolie, and this is kind of how I understand it as well, this is not just the Dead Sea Scrolls only. If you go into
mhm,
the mountains of Tibet, if you go into, the ancient Egyptian sites, if you go into the Yucatan area of Mexico, or you go down into the Peruvian mountains, right? It's the evidence is all in these places, and it's consistent. And
mhm.
wherever you look, including in the Bible as well, in the book of Revelation, talking about a new heaven, a new earth kind of thing. And it's all coming to the fore. And I think that even things like the Dead Sea Scrolls, the fact that they came to fruition when they did, to understand them, you have to understand the scientific breakthroughs in terms of time, because we always just think of this linearity of time, right? You're born, it's a straight line, time goes in a straight line, and then you die. But now the scientists have realized that time doesn't just move in a straight line. There's a vertical timeline as well as, the way that we look at it. Again, scientifically proven. It's kind of, but you have to understand that. To understand what is being said in the Dead Sea Scrolls, you have to understand it. It's almost like there's a timing element. Now we can understand this, we can understand how these events are supposed to unfold. So I find it really interesting, and Gregg's really good with this stuff because he's been a bit like when we were featuring Billy Carson about maybe a month ago, right? They've all been individually to all these sacred sites. They've spent there. They're deeply into their spiritual self. They understand these things, but they've been there, hands-on kind of situation to talk to these people and understand and honor them and find out what they can. And I got to say, Gregg's work, I think, is wonderful. And it's very interesting what he says about the evolutionary Darwinian theory is not our story, right? Now, that is a bit controversial to many. I completely agree with him. And I know that in the work of Dear Dolores Cannon and many others as well, they've kind of, I would say, proven it. To me, it's proof because I know what I've heard to be true. And I think the Darwinian theory is kind of all we had. It was the best that we knew from 150 years ago, right? But now we kind of reached that point where we know that, as he put it, to have those DNA discoveries where the mutations happened all at once. If we're talking about that being just dumb luck, it's just, it is just off the scale, not possible. So whilst you go with you honor the fact that in its time the Darwinian theory was the best we had, I think now we have to realize there is a bigger force outside of us that exists, that is part of us, and we are part of that. So this is about bringing our conscious awareness to a point to understand we are bigger and better than we thought we were, and that we don't necessarily have to look outside of ourselves for that information. We have the power within, right? And it's sort of like remembering the fact, because we knew it before we were born. then the veil of forgetfulness drops and we forget about it. And like I've only been doing this stuff for like less than 6 years. And I now kind of am very confident that I know that who I am is, this magnificent being. But that's not putting myself up there, because every single person on this planet is the same, right? We're all that. And I think that, again, this journey from an elevated planet perspective is helping people to join up the dots here to realize that they are actually not this small, insignificant being. They are actually a magnificent being. And we're all part of the same. That idea of separation as well, that one of the things he spoke about before is that, a lot of the problems at the moment in the world are hate and division energy and all this kind of thing. And that speaks of separation. We're going to compete against each other for scarce resources. So therefore, that encourages us to have wars and all this kind of stuff, which is what we will discover is completely unnecessary. Because the fact is, we're not separate. We are basically we all come from the same source. We all return to the same source. And what I also like about this, and then I'll let Jolé, I'll bring you in, but Chris Stiles, what he was coming out and telling us about last week, I think a lot of this really aligns very strongly with that. What Billy Carson's told us about before, it aligns very much with that. And Louise Hatch, I did an interview with her this week, and she brought out her latest Wild Wisdom piece for 2024. And again, it's a brilliant piece of work. It's typically Louise' style, which is very succinct and poetic and beautiful. So she did a narration for us on it, which I'd love to share, and I'll make sure it goes on the newsletter tomorrow. But again, she is talking about us being in readiness for this bigger person that we really are, rather than getting caught up in the drama of life and being able to take a step back away from it. So I love the consistency of that. So Jolé, take it away.
You spoke about the new earth and, the new heaven. And I believe, especially here at Elevated Planet, that what we're trying to do is get you to understand that that's in you, right? John, you spoke about the great remembering. And one of the things we also want you to do when you hear things that we talk about in our language as we're human and we're moving through these concepts which are alive, Mother Earth is alive and things are changing and growing at such amazing rates, is to do your homework. When we talk about the patterns that go throughout, from the Dead Sea Scrolls to Tibet to here and there, do your research, learn these things so that when you are able to sit down and do your meditation, you can access the energy of these documents or of these beautiful spiritual symbols that can help you with empower yourself, because that's really what it's all about. John says we're all connected and we're all the same. That's very true. And we all have our own, I guess, individual expression of that. But imagine a beautiful color puzzle or a quilt, right? And you have all these little puzzle pieces, but when they come together, they create this beautiful universe or picture or whatever. And that's sort of how I look at it. And so when it's my time to be put into the puzzle or to be my pieces to be added, I want to be fully formed, right? So that I fit. And so through these principles of learning about how your chakras and your auras and all of these things that maybe seem fringe to you, you can use your own spirituality to just connect whatever you believe in, to lock that in to your energy field. And that's just what we're trying to teach or to empower. I don't know how to say enlighten. It's just, how do you take these spiritual principles, all of this wealth of knowledge that we have around us, and really begin to add that to your own personal fire to create something, to cook, I guess you want to say, to make something, to create. And that's truly why we're here. So all that other stuff is to the side, and we are in a place where we lead, and we lead with the heart and also grounded in reality. And so when we get into today's meditation, I really want to help us remove fear, because a lot of times fear to me is another word for denial. Once we say, I have this issue, I have this problem, I need to do something about it, the universe then begins to conspire to help us heal. But a lot of us are too afraid to look at our pathologies or the things that get in the way of us moving forward because they hurt. They have all these labels and judgments and criticisms of, on them. And then that, instead of it being about your behavior or an issue that is really outside of you that you might be grappling with, now you don't want to take that on, right? You don't want to become those things that people label you as. And that's sometimes where the fear comes in, the denial and the separation. So today's meditation, I really want to just don't worry about what the label and the criticism is on that negative energy. Let's just move it out so that more love can come in. And when we're met with these issues of fear, or maybe it's a conspiracy theory, we can entertain it for the moment, rise above it, and let it go. Because a lot of these big issues, all that we can do is clean up our lives. That's about it. Excuse me. So in the grand scheme of things, it is always going to start with us or with you or with me or the we. So that's where we always want to begin.
Yeah, very well said. And yeah, absolutely. I think, picking up from what you said there, it is about being discerning. So when we share our truth, which is our truth, right? But it doesn't have to be yours. That's your decision to make. And we would always encourage you to be discerning, because one of the things that Gregg talks about is that, if you rely on the mainstream media alone, you are going to have a distorted version of the truth, right? You have to be discerning. You have to be careful about what you are going to ingest, because it is not there necessarily there to serve you. So yeah, be discerning about what we tell you. By all means, question it, research it, because if you believe it yourself because you've researched it and found it to be true, or it causes you to question it, and then you think, well, no, that isn't part of my truth, then we would totally honor that, because at the end of the day, as Jolé said, we are actually individuated expressions, right? We are here different. We all come from the same source. We all return to the same source. But while we're here, we are individuated expressions of consciousness going through life on our own journey. And everybody's journey should be honored, which is why judgment isn't necessary, because everybody's going to have different views on everything. And that is as it should be. So just because our opinions don't match is no criticism of anybody, right? That everybody should be checking it out for themselves and deciding what is true for them. But sometimes you have to take a little bit of effort to go beyond what is available through the normal sources, because, as I say, you can't always trust those that you would imagine. I believe for many years that the mainstream media was where I got so much of my version of the truth from, and I've learned to be discerning, certainly in recent times. So not to say that what they say is wrong, or to have a go at the journalists, because there's some really good journalists out there, and there's some people absolutely trying to put the truth out there, but ultimately you need to be discerning. I think that is the way I look at it.
And also remember, when you're dealing with the mainstream media, if you feel like they're lying about something, they're pretty much lying about everything. So when you want to pick and choose, like, I believe this about this politician, but then I don't believe this about these people, be careful. Let it resonate. The heart always knows, kind of, not the truth, but I want to say what works for you and what works for your energy. And it takes all types for this earth to run. So let's just make room for each other.
Yeah, totally. One other thing on Gregg as well is that I've been researching. There is a retreat taking place in Sedona, which Gregg is running, and contemplating having an elevated planet presence there. Myself, Jolé, if anybody feels that they fancy a trip over to Arizona right at the end of May and the first few days of June, then do let us know, because it sounds, it's called Pure Human, and it's about creating a breakthrough. into realizing our true magnificence. Now, this matters for us because our full intention is that we will be running our own retreats. We will be starting our course before too long, which is all about the nature of consciousness and the human experience. And so all these things are all additive. Gregg has got a great team there. They have a team of people who put together these retreats. So it's going to be a great experience for us to share and to see. So I'm very hopeful that will all fall into place. But if what I'll do is I'll drop a little something onto the newsletter, just so people can look at it for themselves. And if you fancy a trip over to Arizona at that time, then it might well be worth your consideration. So just another one to plant out there. One thing I was just going to mention as well is that when we go into our meditation for today, is that we have a new background with this, which has backing tones, which are 528 hertz. Now, we did a piece again on this maybe about 2 months ago now, Jolé, which was all about the frequencies.
Yes.
And the 528 hertz is one which, aligns with solar plexus chakra. But these solfeggio frequencies, they really can help when you're, whether you're, again, as this journey to remove the things that are not serving you and bring the things in that are helping. So we've created this backing track which goes through, and it also has an image on it, which is, I would say, hypnotic, which is, it's beautiful. It's just a moving spiral, because that aligns with one of the things you talk about, Jolé, right?
Correct. Creating that alternating current from Mother Earth, being able to create that portal to give what no longer serves you, what you're ready to recycle. And then Mother Earth does that and sends it back to you. And the rest is for anybody to use.
Yeah. And interesting enough as well, 528 hertz is not a frequency which is used often in music, the music industry generally. Although if you go onto YouTube or anywhere else, you'll always find stuff at 528 hertz quite deliberately, and it might be a 9-hour video for you to sleep your way through, because it's a very good thing for sleep. In fact, I've got a little something I'll share with you in a second, but because it talks about what this does for you. But interestingly, of the very few tracks out there that are in the pop world that are aligned to 528 hertz, John Lennon's Imagine. How perfect is that, right? So I'm just going to read this to you. Anecdotal evidence suggests that the 528 hertz frequency can offer a wide range of benefits, which include improved sleep quality, reduced stress and anxiety, increased energy levels, improved concentration and focus, improved digestion, reduces pain and inflammation. And does it work? Yes. I mean, they've done university studies that kind of back this up, and also talking about DNA cell regeneration, because there is again, some of the things that it's been proven to do is, from a biochemistry point of view, has been pretty spectacular. So the other thing that I did with it when I was creating this backing track for Jolé's meditations was that there is one available under Elevated Planet as of about 2 hours ago, which is available. So if you want to do your own version of your own meditation, and you just want that in the background, you can actually call up that video, and then you can kind of sit there and just allow that 528 hertz frequency, and it goes on for 19 minutes. We also have others that we're creating as well at the moment. There's another one at 432 hertz as well, which also has a number of benefits, which will also be included in the details. I'll tell you exactly what it is that it's doing for you. So obviously we love the guided meditations from Jolé, because she is taking us on a visualization journey, and that's why we have the copper wire kind of idea, because that is that alternating current from Mother Earth feeding back up through our grounding cord. So it helps us get there. But I must admit, like, having watched this myself, I find it really draws you in. If you've got a larger screen in front of you, it really draws you in. It's very hypnotic, but it's beautiful. It's a beautiful experience. There's that. What else did I want to say? I've got the Louise Hatch, the Wild Wisdom, which I think is wonderful. And there's 2 videos of that, which again, I'll be putting that out on the weekly. One is the interview that I have Louise where she narrates it, and then we talk about it. We break it down, and she gets in a chance to explain how it relates to her life and where she's kind of like breaking it down. So it's really good. But there is also just a simple narrated version, which is 7 minutes long. So you've got a choice of the 2. But yeah, there. Oh, one other thing I wanted to Gregg Braden again, going back to Gregg. In my studies with him, one of the things, and again, Jolé, I don't know whether you've heard of this one before. It's a prayer called the Gift of the Blessing. He's done a lot of studies on this. And again, this comes back to ancient wisdom. This is not something that Gregg's made up. But what is really interesting about this is that it's a 3-part prayer. Okay. Now you can take something that's going on in the world and you might say, okay, well, it's if you say Gaza, right, as being a point where, there's a lot of victims, there's a lot of things there that you could witness on the news, and it kind of leaves you, feeling traumatized yourself, having seen what those poor people are going through. The 3 parts to the prayer are, the first part is, we bless those that are suffering. And there are specific wording. And if you look it up on greggbraden.com, and G-R-E-G-G, by the way, just so you know that Gregg is not a single G, he's a double G, greggbraden.com, you'll find the gift of the blessing on that. So the first part is you bless those that are suffering. So you would kind of, talk about, and again, he'll tell you how to do the wording, but you just kind of picture this and you throw feeling is really important. Feelings are more important than the words that underlie it. And as is true with all things in life, right? You have to feel what you're saying. So you feel for those people who are suffering, those who've lost their lives, those who've lost their families. The second part to the prayer is we bless those that have inflicted the pain and suffering on others, right? That's an important one. And it's a difficult one for us to get our heads around in the westernized culture, because why would you be blessing somebody who has perpetrated violence on other people, right? But it's important because it's about, we talk about forgiveness. And I know Jolé's you've done a number of meditations about forgiving and letting go, because the point is that if you can't forgive and let go, you're holding it within yourself, right? And that does not do you any favors, right? Is that right, Jolé?
That is correct. That is, holding grudges and resentments is like drinking poison and expecting for the other person to die. So you let go of it. No one ever said you have to forget about it, but you move to a place where you can get neutral and take the lesson.
Yes.
And then so that you don't experience that trigger or that again in this lifetime, you can resolve that issue. So forgiveness is important because it opens up space.
It does. And you're absolutely right, because one of the things that Gregg talks about there, it in no way condones the actions that have taken place. It's not designed to condone the actions, but blessing those that have perpetrated or the suffering or inflicted on the others. That's part 2. And then the third one is blessing those that have witnessed the suffering, which could well include yourself as well, because that's the reason you're bringing that to attention. So you
Right.
as well are part of that prayer. That's the third part to it. And I find that really interesting and very enlightening. And again, that's not just Gregg making that up. That has come from ancient texts from various parts of the world, whether we're talking about, again, Qumran, which was the ancient text from the Dead Sea. You've got the Egyptians, you've got the Tibetan in the mountains, the Peruvians, the Mexican, kind of all these ancient sites carry things that relate to these, and it's consistent. So anyway, right. I feel that I have said enough, Jolé. I think it's about time. So today's meditation is going to be.
It's going to be, really that grounding cord we're going to focus on. And like Gregg said, really allowing for yourself to wake up and bring in more of who you really are, more of that healing energy of optimal health. So I really want to be able to just let go. we can work with forgiveness as well, letting go, so that we can bring in more of what works.
Yes.
He's truly a master. So let's take some of his golden nuggets
Yes.
and visualize them. Okay.
Right. Right. We're becoming a template for transformation is what we're becoming. And that's what Greg's taught
Yes.
us. So,
There we go. The template for transformation.
right. Off we go.
Okay. As always, please begin to breathe with the rhythm of your body and command your heartbeat to sync up with your breath. As you bring your awareness to between your sit bones and you create, visualize, or imagine a grounding cord, a portal, an opening at your first chakra, which I said is between your sit bones, traveling through the chair, through the floor, and at the speed of love, rooting itself down into Mother Earth, making sure that this grounding cord is 6 inches in diameter from top to bottom. And now Mother Earth, in her unconditional love and her infinite wisdom and nurturing energy, is going to wrap a beautiful, loving copper wire around your grounding cord, so that as you send down any traumas, any negative thoughts, any limiting beliefs, any behaviors, attitudes, or even people that no longer serve you, down the grounding cord, their energy, that energy, Mother Earth then recycles it and turns it into positive creative life force energy, which pulsates back up, giving you your energy back and the excess for anyone who needs it. So as we ground, we're going to now call in our golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles. And we're going to scrub off our grounding cord inside and out and in between the copper wire. And we're going to go ahead and allow for this energy to move off anything we're ready to let go of, anything we're ready to release. As we open our crown like we would the lens of a camera, we see the creator of all that is put a beautiful, radiant, joyful golden sun above our head. And as that grounding cord is being cleaned off and those golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles are doing their job, taking off anything that no longer serves us, anyone else's energy, and turning it into positive creative life force energy for anyone to use. And now when you're ready, bring that golden sun down into the crown, filling up your cranium, focusing itself down the spine, and then it goes inside and outside the grounding cord, cascading down, resolving and dissolving those golden rose-shaped cleaning utensils as they fall away into Mother Earth, turning into positive creative life force energy for anyone to use. You're going to command your aura to be 1.5 feet around you, 18 inches to the front and the back, to the right, to the left, and to the top and the bottom. Your higher self sitting a comfortable distance above you, as well as you snapping your astral body in. Feet in feet, knees in knees, hips in hips, hands in hands, elbows in elbows, shoulders in shoulders, head in head, fitting inside of you like a hand fits inside of a glove. And now we're going to open our feet channels or portals like we would the lens of a camera and call in 15% earth energy of a color or an element that resonates with you. For me, it is like lava, fire, new creation, coming, pooling in my feet, traveling up the side channels of my legs as I open that crown and allow for that divine universal life force energy, unlimited, to cascade down into my crown, fill up my cranium, focus down that spine, mix in with that first chakra, and to begin to fill me up like water fills up a cup. Visualize this for you. And now, as this essence of divine life force energy paired with the nurturing reality of Mother Earth, begins to fill you up. You put a golden sun above your head, and you're going to call back all your energy from the people and places and the things where you may have left it. And so you have this beautiful golden sun above your head. And now you're going to visualize to the right and to the left of you, outside your aura layer, about 5 feet away from you, a beautiful light-colored rose, which represents the universal trash bag, transmuting negative energy to positive energy, or giving everyone their energy back. Open the brow like you would the lens of a camera, and you start pulling out this energy and see it go into the rose to the right or to the left of your aura layer. Put your mother, your father, your grandmother, your brothers, your sisters, your coworkers, your car, your clothes, your house. Put everything except for you inside those roses, outside your aura layer. And when you are ready, you're going to give those roses outside your aura a push. You're going to blow them up, see them turn into positive creative life force energy, which is fireworks, as your energy flows back to you into that golden sun above your head in waves. Beautiful. And when you're ready, give those roses outside your aura a push, blow them up, and bring that golden sun down, mixing in with the earth energy as well as that cosmic life force energy. And now we are ready to attune our bodies, our minds, and our spirits to being conduits, positive conduits of transmuting negative energy into positive energy. So first and foremost, I want you to identify all the pain, all the struggle, all the negativity, the negative thoughts, the limiting beliefs in your body, and turn it a bright red. And send it, flush it down the grounding cord. Put a golden sun above your head, and now fill up the spaces and the places with this new energy of forgiveness, of compassion, of illumination, of empowerment, of optimal health and prosperity, filling in all these spaces and places where those limiting beliefs were, where those negative thoughts, where that jealousy, that envy, that denial, that fear sits. Bring all that golden sun down into the lower chakras so that you can engage and execute. And you could begin to live your life as an example. Or maybe you can just live your life, the life of your dreams. Or life of service, whatever it is, visualize, see it, bring it in as you move out all of the judgment, all of the criticisms, and everyone who said, no, you can't, you couldn't. Move that out and move in the possibilities. Move in the confidence. Move in the self-love and the understanding. Become that high vibrational being by moving out all of that heavy energy down that portal to Mother Earth, and allow her to recycle it. See her. It goes down, it turns into sparky things, and then she sparks it back up to you. That electricity turns your blood cells into heart-shaped electrical currents that then allow for you to transmute all of the energy around you to love and into joy. And remember, love is a many-layered thing, but joy is pure in that it is an energy of levity, an energy of elevation, and an energy of connection. So feel joy, allow for joy to pour into you from divine and from Mother Earth. What does joy look like? Is it butterflies? Is it flowers? Whatever it is, allow for those pictures to parade past your sight, your inner sight, and allow for you to absorb all the joy that Mother Earth has to give to you, and that the divine, the creator of all that is divine joy, just their divine joy, her divine joy, pouring down into your crown. I want you to take a deep breath in Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Exhale and feel all of that energy infiltrate your blood, your DNA, the heart shape of love, the forgiveness that moves throughout your body. And as you sit in your heart, running this 15% earth energy, this 85% cosmic gold life force energy, the earth energy is of a color that resonates with you. This mixes in with your own energy, sprouting out your feet, hands, and crown chakras, filling up your aura layer, turning you into a magnet of optimal health, prosperity, of joy, and allowing you to transmute any negativity around you into positive energy, allowing you to transmute any disease or illness in your body into optimal health and well-being. Allow for this energy of the possibilities, these imaginal cells, waking them up, visualizing your highest good, your prosperity, bringing your dreams down and into you. Every cell of your body knows. Take a deep breath in, exhale, and gently and with grace and ease, close your feet, hands, brow, and crown chakras. Stop running energy. Take a deep breath in. We stay grounded. And we see all the beautiful blood cells in our body, heart-shaped, moving out any disease and illness down that portal as Mother Earth and the divine life force continues to send us energy from the universe in the highest and best way. As we take another deep breath in, we exhale, and we open our eyes.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jolé. When I keep looking at that spiral thing, I'm looking at the screen now, and it's kind of like gradually moving in this direction now. I feel like I'm on something, but it's beautiful. That was beautiful. And you know what also struck me that as we were going through that, the Wild Wisdom piece by Louise that we'll be featuring in the weekly. One of the things she was talking about is calling back your energy. You know, the fact is that we get called. Part of us is like the cultural thing is almost just give your energy away all the time. Help people, help people, help people. But there is a balance, and this is what the piece is about to an extent. Is just talking about calling that energy back, because we had this discussion around this. I said, you know, one of the things I really love is the fact that Jolé has done so many guided meditations where you are calling your energy back, because you know you have to look after yourself first to be the best version of yourself, so to face out to the world and be that the best person you can be for them, rather than giving ourselves away and then feeling depleted. So thank you. And the forgiveness piece as well that was in that. And I do believe that that is such a vital part. And again, you know, because we're almost encouraged to judge circumstances just because of the way the culture is. And that means that often you wouldn't be, you would not be in a position to, or you wouldn't even be thinking about forgiving unless you're consciously aware that it doesn't serve you, you don't need to, and it doesn't mean that you're condoning the behavior of those that require the forgiveness. It's not about that. It's about clearing your own energy so that you can move forward and through rather than getting stuck. Would you say that's about right?
Yes, absolutely. On the money.
Fantastic. Okay, well, really enjoyed that. That was fantastic. And thank you, Jolé. And I think we might as well wrap it up at this point. We've got the weekly going out probably tomorrow by the time we get this recording on there. But, you know, again, always I will encourage any feedback for us along the way. Anything that you'd like us to do, anything you'd like us to focus upon, we're always open, as we are a community. Yes. And we want to gather that, and always happy to sort of engage with that. So thank you again, Jolé. And thank you.
Hi.
Thank you to our Elevated Planet community. And we look forward to engaging with you again next week. Thank you. Have a fantastic week.